If you're looking to sell your Philadelphia home without a realtor, you're probably doing it so you can save the commission, because that is tens of thousands of dollars. In this video, we'll be going over the 8 steps you need to take to do exactly that. And those 8 steps are pricing, preparing your home, putting it on the market. Then there'll be whatever legal requirements you have. We'll be going over what you need to do for your showings and offerings, how to handle your inspections and the appraisal, and then finally going over what you need to do to bring it all home with the closing. So if that's interesting to you, stick around for this. And by the end of the video, the goal is for you to, instead of being unprepared and stressed like you might be right now, you'll be confident and prepared, knowing that you have an idea of what's around the corner the entire time, regardless of whether or not you work with a realtor like myself. So full disclosure, my name is Trevor McKenzie. I am a Philadelphia realtor, but my goal is to help people make the best decision for themselves, regardless of whether or not that's with me. So we will get into it. And to kind of say it one more time, you do not need an agent for this process if you're comfortable dealing with the frustrating parts of the process. The agent's job, my job, is to take that off of your plate. But if that is not an issue for you, you're good to go. Just follow what's in this, do a bit of digging on your own, and you'll be good to go. So the first thing that you want to understand for your situation, depending on where you're at in Philly, will be the median sales price. You want to know that so you can get a ballpark of what your home could be worth. And just so you know, in Philly in general, it's up 6% year over year. That may be different in your neighborhood. That may be different on your block. I'll be showing you how to look that up shortly. You also want to know, this is a little bit less important, but the total numbers of homes sold in that area. And the reason is because this will give you an idea of the general demand. If there's not a lot of homes selling, you can expect to maybe wait a bit longer or to have a more difficult sale. Whereas if you're in a place where homes are just flying off the shelves, then it might be a little bit easier for you. The last thing you want to know is the median days on market. Same as the other one, this will let you know how long it could take you to sell, maybe depending on how much you do or don't fix up your home. And to give an example of that, we'll be looking at a Manayunk right here or a South Philly. If you are in a Manayunk, a Fishtown, one of those kinds of areas, there are way more people that are interested in coming in. The demand will be higher, and the demand will be coming from people who are maybe relocators. They're looking to start families in the city. They're looking to be somewhere, and that is what this is. Whereas if you are looking at maybe some parts of South or North Philly, the areas are clearing out a bit more. So the homes may not be in a condition where families may want to move in and walk their dogs. So your interest would be coming more from people who are investors. And this matters because that can kind of give you an idea of how much you do or don't want to fix up your place based on your timeline. So that understood, I am once again going to say, I'm going to give you a bunch of ways that you can make this work for yourself, because you can make this work for yourself. So the first thing that you need to understand is how to price your home, and I have a video on that where we go into a bit more detail based on your timeline or what you may want to do, but it's always going to be based on your goals. But just for this video, we'll be going over the process of how you're going to do that. And you can go onto a Zillow or Redfin like we will in a second, and you want to look up the actives, the homes that are still currently active and being sold, so you can know what your direct competition is. You want to look at a couple homes that were pending, which were active and just went under contract, so you can know what people are biting at, like what price they're looking at. And then finally, you want the sold, but you want the sold within the last 6 months, so you have an accurate snapshot of what people have been paying within the last 6 months. So to look at that first, we're just going to jump to Redfin, and we'll look at Fishtown again because we do that here. And if I wanted to say compare for my home, let's say my home is this one. This is a 3-bed, 1-bath at 1,000 square feet. So what I personally do, which I do this on the MLS or Encompass, but these are the tools that you would have because you're not a realtor. So you would do 3 beds or beyond, 1 bath plus. I would hit here, and my price range, because I'm being realistic, I'm pretty sure my property was under 300,000. I am not the type to assume I can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars over what my thing is. And it looks like the only comparables I have in this area, unfortunately for me, are 1, 2, and 3 as active. These are the ones that are for sale. So that's what people are currently listing their homes at. But what I may want to see is the under contract or pending homes. So this would let me know what these homes sold for in the Fishtown area, and it looks like 300 is basically the ceiling here. That one sold for 150, similar size. If I were to look at the inside of it, there aren't any pictures, so I'm going to assume it's not necessarily the best. This one sold for 200. It is much bigger, but if you look at the insides, it needs a gut renovation. This one sold at 300, or it's pending at 300. Apologies. Or yeah, and then I will look at sold within the last 6 months. And here, all of these properties, this will give me the price range. Obviously, if I or you were doing this, you would want to take more time to get an idea of what the finishes are like on the inside, and then you would go from there. So that's that. The next thing you'd want to look at is your tax assessment. And I choose to look at the license and inspection so that there's no surprises. On the tax assessment, you would go to, we'll do OPA Philadelphia, and that brings us to the Office of Property Assessment, and you would want to go to Find Property Information, and you would type in your address here, and that will pull up any taxes that are owed. And the process for Atlas is very similar, except that will list inspections, any issues that are going on with the property, any permits that you might have. And you want to know that because you have to disclose that information to your potential buyers. And also you would want to know that so you have an idea of what you might or might not want to fix based on how much time you have and the price that you plan on getting for your property. So with that squared away, once you're done with that, your next step is going to be prepping your home. And this is where sometimes for sale by owner sellers can mess up because there are disclosures that you need. The first one being the property disclosure. And this is where you would say, hey, my appliances are new, my roof is new, my flooring is new, or my roof has issues, my appliances have issues. You would list all of that. This way you have it on the record because your buyer is going to get an inspection and they're going to figure this out. So being honest up front will save you some trouble. We're going to look at how in later examples, but please believe me when I say that being honest there makes your life a lot easier. And then there's the use and occupancy certificate, which is a Philadelphia specific thing. It's a legal thing. It basically just is, you would have the city check to make sure that your home can be occupied, basically. And then the last two things would be the curb appeal and the staging. And those matter. If we look at here, you can see that these are things that, this is the National Association of Realtor. They did a study, and things like lighting and patios, wood decks, fire features, they rank really highly with buyers. If that isn't what you want, no worries. Just know that these are the types of updates that you would want to use in certain parts of Philly if you were going for a premium price. If you just want to get rid of it, you can scrap all of this. But kind of to reiterate on that one more time, just in case you are looking for a premium price and you're on the fence about staging, it makes a big difference. It helps your home sell faster. It helps your home sell for more. The buyer can imagine themselves in a home that has staging more easily than they can, or many buyers can imagine themselves more easily in a home that has staging than not. And as you can see here, the living room, the primary bedroom, and the dining room are the most important ones because people love hosting and they love their own space. So the next step that you'd want to take is professional photography. I see a lot of for sale by owner listings that have horrible photography, and for the record, a lot of for sale by owners end up working with realtors in the future, and this is one of those reasons. When I review a for sale by owner listing and I'm trying to give them fixes that they can make a difference on, the easiest one is always don't take pictures with your phone from awkward angles where they can see your reflection, or don't take pictures from your phone that are just, they look like you took the pictures with your phone. You can take great pictures with your phone, just look at some listings maybe that have more professional photos and try to replicate that rather than just vertical photo with your hand blocking the camera. So the reason why you want to do that is faster sales, higher sale prices, more online views. Think of it like a trailer. You want the first picture of your property to draw people in, and that will be really hard to do if it's dark, grainy, and just not something that people want to see. They will probably not click in. They won't see your other photos. It'll make your life harder than it needs to be. Just bite the bullet, get some pro photography. Unless you're a pro, then you got it. The next one you want to do once you have your photos, once you have your initial paperwork, is you want to list the home. And because you're not working with a realtor, you can't put it directly on the MLS, but you can put it on the MLS using, I think they're called flat fee brokers, and List with Freedom is one of them. Zillow FSBO is one of them. If you want to do that and have an extra layer, you could put it on Facebook Marketplace as well and Craigslist. Many realtors also do that just for the exposure. And just so that you can see what the pricing looks like for this, I'm going to pull this up. This is List with Freedom. And if you look here, I haven't used their services, obviously, but you can see it's 89% and then 0.5% at closing for one tier. They have a $195 option and a $395 option. I will scroll down. You can pause it where you need to, but there is a bunch of options that they give you. And then each of them has extra things, like they'll give you a yard sign, or they will post open house information. And it's like an a la carte menu that you can do what you want to do with it. But also a lot of these extra things that they offer, you can get on your own if you're interested in finding those platforms. So with this, you will have your home listed, it'll be on the market, and then you can start doing the part that everybody doesn't love, the showings and the open houses. And this is where you get to basically do what would be my job, which is taking care of all the people who are interested with your property, assuming you got the people interested by having the right photos. And if your place is really nice, maybe you got a Matterport and did virtual tours. For this, unless you plan to be there for everything, you would want to have signage so people are aware. You can go to a website like Vistaprint to get that. And you also want to have a lockbox so that you can put your keys there and buyer's agents can just get that and bring people inside your home. And this is the one that you will see everywhere in Philly. It's just good. It's not expensive. You can get whatever you want, but this is the one I would suggest. Our team uses it. But for the rest of this, if you want to go all out, you got a property that you really want to sell and you think you could get top dollar for it, then you would want to put it on social media. Maybe you want to run ads. If it's on Craigslist, it's online. If you are good with the phone, you might want to get neighborhood numbers and start calling people so that you can market for your open house. The more that you do in this stage, the more demand you'll be able to generate, which will mean a better sales price for you at the end of the day. And then what's most important for you, and what a lot of for sale by owners don't enjoy, is tracking and following up with all the buyers. When they come to your open houses, maybe you want to have a piece of paper, if that's more your style, where they could write down their name and their number and their email, and then you can talk to them or get their information for their buyer's agent and you can talk to that person. Or you can just have a Google form and then you could take that information from there in like a Google sheet that you have in the background, if that's easier for you and you're more tech savvy. But in any case, a big part of what you will be doing is following up with the people who are interested in your home. That is a big part of the job. The last one would be once you follow up with those people and they show you how interested they are in your home, and then you vet them for the type of buyer they are to make sure that they have enough money. Maybe you speak to their loan officers to know they're good to go. They will put in an offer and you will look at that offer, and that will come in on an agreement of sale, and they will have contingencies. If you've never sold before, well, you bought, so you're probably aware of what contingencies are. So we'll just go to the biggest ones are going to be the inspection contingency, which if something is wrong, it may blow up your deal. There will be the appraisal, which if your property appraises lower than what you're listing it for, they may want to blow up the deal. I almost did that for my duplex. And then finally, there would be the financing, which is based on whether or not they're going to be able to pay for it. This one, everyone isn't the biggest fan of, but it protects the buyer. So some buyers just use that. For you, you will probably end up using one of their platforms, but if you're using your platform, you have the option of DocuSign or PandaDoc. And if you haven't seen an agreement of sale, we'll just go over like a quick and dirty, really short look at it. And if you want a more in-depth video, please let me know in the comments and I will do that. But this is just in case you've forgotten about it, so you can just refamiliarize yourself with it really quickly. So here, what we are looking at is standard agreement for sale. This is from the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, so you don't have to worry about whether or not it's legit. And everything, just all you need to do really is look at the headers, and then that'll help you break it down. There's a series of sections, and then everything from there becomes pretty logical. But it is overwhelming if you just look at it at a glance. But just so you know, the parties is just who you are, who they are. The property is pretty obvious. Buyer's relationship with the licensed broker. They will have a broker. You do not. So you would want to look up how you could properly do this. I imagine you would use the broker that you listed on the MLS with for your flat fee, but I'm unsure. If you ask me, I'll Google that to figure it out for you. Or if you are working with me, I would just put Compass's information in this area. And then from there, you would have buy this agreement on the date. You'd put your price there. There's deposit information that would go there. If you're giving them extra money, that's on the seller assist. The settlement and possession is where you would set the date for things to go down at this time of settlement. The following will be prorated. This includes all your money that's going back and forth between you. The date, times, is the essence, is where your deadlines are. And then after this, there's your zoning and then the fixtures and personal property. It makes sense, I promise. But to get back to the main thing, we will be looking at next how you will handle inspections. So after you sign the agreement of sale, which is essentially just a draft, because you will be having, I assume you'll have negotiations, and then you'll be editing the agreement of sale until both of you agree with what's there, at which point you would both sign it and you're good to go. But when you are handling inspections, it depends on what your timeline is, what your budget is, and what your goals are. If the inspection flags something that you don't want to pay for, you have the option to either pay for it or deduct that from the price, or let the buyer walk. All three of those are entirely up to you and what you want to do. So if you don't have a lot of time, and you want the deal to go through regardless, maybe you just eat the loss. If you have all the time in the world, or you don't care which buyer buys it, you're just willing to wait, then you can do the fix, or you can not do the fix and wait for another buyer. But all of that will be entirely up to you and your discretion. And then finally, there is closing the sale. And the buyer will have their own title company. Almost guaranteed the buyer will have an agent unless you're doing some type of off-market deal. So for you, I would suggest that you have an attorney to handle the legal end for you, because if you're unrepresented by an agent, all of the liability for this will be on you. I'm assuming because you own the home, you bought it with no title issues, but it wouldn't hurt to have some type of backup. But if you're 100% positive that everything is good to go and you have no issues, then send it. No attorney needed. It's your life, it's your pockets. So with that, you're done. If you did all of that correctly, you got your paperwork lined up, maybe you chat GPT'd your way through all of this, or you used Claude to make sure you covered your bases and didn't make any mistakes, and then maybe you had your attorney review everything at the end to make sure, or at each point to make sure you were good to go. Maybe you just paid them hourly to review what you had going on, then congrats, you're good. You avoided having to pay a commission. I just really love that for you. But the bonuses for you, just so you know, there is a transfer tax and there's a possible wage tax, but fortunately a lot of these taxes are prorated and shared between you and the buyer depending on what point in the year that you sell your home. So if you knock all of this out, you sold your home successfully, you didn't need an agent, you got it done, congratulations. If any of this seems frustrating, or if you would just like a realtor to have a conversation with, regardless of whether or not you work with them, I would love to consult for you. And to kind of show good faith, I'll happily start with a property valuation. I'll give you a appropriate range for your property and let you know what fixes, if any, need to be done. If that's of interest to you, I can do that. Drop me a text or call me. If not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.